Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C. We are located today at the Kennedy Recreation Center, and I'm joined by members of the Metropolitan Police Department as well as our federal partners at the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We are here to announce updates in a police investigation that occurred in this area, in the area of 7th and O Streets Northwest. As a result of an ongoing investigation, yesterday, more than 20 individuals were arrested for significant illegal activity in this area. While I will let the Metropolitan Police Department and our partners provide more details about this investigation, I want to say thank you and good work to our Violence Reduction Unit. These partnerships with our federal partners are critical. The steady, thorough investigations happening behind the scenes every single day are critical to making our neighborhoods safer. And because of that work, in this case, 11 firearms were removed from this community. 6 of those were recovered yesterday. We know that members of the community have been rightfully angry and frustrated about the violence happening here. And while there is more work to do, we believe that making these arrests is a critical first step to turning this violence around. Now, MPD and our federal partners have done their part by making these arrests. Now it's time for the rest of the justice system to ensure that those who harm and bring violence to our communities are held accountable. We know that in our nation, our community, we are demanding that all of our systems work better now. People are tired of gun violence. We're tired of mass shootings, and in cities like ours, we're tired of neighborhood violence. Just hours ago, we lost a 16-year-old shot and killed in our city. So we know it's got to stop, and I assure you that we're going to do every single thing within our power, use every resource at our disposal to make our neighborhoods safer. So again, I want to thank MPD, the FBI, the United States Attorney's Office for their work. And I want to ask Inspector Mache McHale from MPD to provide an update.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon. I'm Inspector Lachey Makel with the Metropolitan Police Department's Violent Crime Suppression Division. First, I want to recognize the members of the Violence Reduction Unit and our federal partners for their tireless efforts and many hours of dedicated work that led to the arrest of 22 individuals who were engaged in illegal narcotic activity in the LaDroit Truxton Shaw neighborhood. Yesterday, after almost 1 year of focused coordination and intense collaboration within MPD and with our external partners, a joint operation known as Uptown Express at 7th and O Street Northwest was conducted. This operation resulted in 22 arrests of individuals involved in illegal activity such as conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, possession with intent to distribute controlled substances, possession with intent to distribute marijuana, crack, and fentanyl, felon in possession of a firearm, and also the execution of 20 residential search warrants here in the district and 2 in Maryland. During the investigation, we recovered 11 firearms, assorted ammunition and gun magazines, assorted amounts of illegal narcotics such as crack cocaine and fentanyl, and a large sum of U.S. currency. When we talk about good police work and keeping our city safe, these are the outcomes we're looking for. More than half of the indicted identified suspects involved in this operation have prior arrests for illegal guns. We're talking about violent offenders who will no longer be terrorizing this neighborhood with unnecessary and tragic violence. MPD is intentionally focused on an intelligence-led policing strategy and targets individuals we know are committing violent acts in our neighborhoods. Our strong partnerships with our federal agency partners advanced our investigative abilities and our technical expertise. and allowed us to secure multiple United States District Court indictments. Proactively removing illegal firearms from the streets and apprehending armed criminals continues to be one of our top priorities to ensure the safety of our residents. We will not tolerate people using firearms in our city. While great work was done by this team, the work continues as we continue to ensure no stone is left unturned and all persons involved in this conspiracy are held accountable. If anyone has any information pertaining to this investigation, do not hesitate to contact our Command Information Center at 202-727-9099 or text our anonymous tip line at 50411. Thank you, and I would like to welcome the Special Agent in Charge, Wayne Jacobs of the FBI's Washington Field Office, to provide a few remarks.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser and Inspector Makel. I'm Wayne Jacobs. I'm the Acting Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Washington Field Office. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to talk about these significant arrests, which are the culmination of a nearly year-long investigation with our partners at MPD's Violence Reduction Network, the DEA, and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Before I do want to take a minute to talk about the tragedy in Uvalde. All of us within law enforcement were shaken by the events of yet another horrific shooting occurring in communities that we live and work in. We in law enforcement do this work to prevent incidents like what happened in Uvalde from happening, and our resolve to doing exactly that remains steadfast. As FBI Director Ray has said, the FBI San Antonio and resources and personnel from across the nation are assisting in Uvalde, and the FBI will work around the clock to assist in any way that we can. Moving to yesterday's arrests, the FBI also works with our law enforcement partners every day to reduce violence on the streets in our communities around the country, including D.C. and surrounding areas. Make no mistake, the 13 men who were indicted for allegedly conspiring with other members of their crew to distribute fentanyl and cocaine in this neighborhood are violent criminals. They used illegal drugs to bring violence and deadly drugs, including fentanyl, to the streets of D.C. The FBI Washington Field Office works with MPD and our federal law enforcement partners every single day through our many task forces, including the Cross-Border Safe Streets Task Force. The continued violence and fatal overdoses we saw resulting from this street crew's activities were a driving force for us to work together to bring this federal case and hold them accountable for their disregard for their community and for human life. Our communities deserve not to live in fear of another shooting or worry about drugs being sold on the street corners or their apartment next door. As a byproduct of our efforts in this investigation, our city is a little bit safer today. The arrests are the latest tangible example of our partnership successes. But our work is not over. We are continuing our work to locate Wesley Hillard, who was indicted but is not yet in custody. Rest assured, the FBI and our partners will find him and bring him to justice. Again, we are grateful for the opportunity to be here today. I'm proud to represent our agents, our analysts, and partners who have worked diligently for nearly a year to take these offenders off the streets. No one agency can tackle this problem alone. As this case demonstrates, WFO, the Washington Field Office, will continue these partnerships to investigate street crews who conspire to distribute dangerous drugs and commit violent acts and bring them to justice. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. John Crabb from the United States Attorney's Office. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. My name is John Crabb. I'm from the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Washington. I'm the Chief of the Criminal Division. As Inspector Makel said a moment ago, this investigation is a product of smart policing based on analytics and intelligence. And we at the U.S. Attorney's Office are committed to supporting those types of investigation and look forward to working with our law enforcement partners to continue investigations such as this. This investigation represents a significant step toward making the men and women who live in this community and work in this community safer than they were before. As the United States Attorney Matthew Graves said, This investigation reflects our focus on protecting our community, both from the deadly consequences of using drugs like fentanyl and the violence that such drug markets attract. In closing, I'd like to thank our law enforcement partners. Again, this investigation is a product of our close collaboration with the Metropolitan Police Department and our federal law enforcement partners, and we look forward to continuing on this course. Thank you.
So once again, thanks to MPD, our partners at the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. I'll take a couple of questions. Press questions.
Hi, hi Mayor. Raphael with WSA 9. Just a quick question on numbers. We're talking about 22 total, but 13 yesterday, just to make that clear.
Sure. Inspector?
Yes, sir. So 22 total. 13 were previously indicted prior to yesterday. 22 was the total as a result of incidents that occurred during that takedown yesterday.
And then one more, Mayor, you did mention the loss of a life of another youth in D.C. Any words for that community after what happened this morning?
Well, I'm going to ask Parsons to talk about the specifics and where we are with the investigation. What we know is that we have a child involved, a 16-year-old, very sadly, and we want the community's help in finding out who did this.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. This morning, just after 11 o'clock, we did respond to the 2200 block of Trenton Place Southeast for the report of a shooting. When our officers arrived on the scene, they did discover a juvenile male who had been shot, and unfortunately he succumbed to his injuries. We are asking anybody in the community that has any information in this case to please call us at 202-727-9099, or they can send us a text tip to 50411. As soon as we have more information on the case, we will share that with the media. I was on the scene this morning, and our detectives are still working that case right now.
Is there any danger for the community there? Did you think it was an attack on this individual?
It appears that the individual was targeted. We do have police in the area. We will be in the area. But if anybody has any information, we would encourage them to call us.
Any other questions? Yes. Yeah.
Can you step up to the mic?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you draw a connection for us, or is there a connection between these arrests and these multiple fatality incidents that we have seen around the district over the last 6 months, the fentanyl overdoses? You mentioned that the drugs seized were cocaine, crack, and fentanyl. Were they combined?
Well, as of right now, we don't have any intel that will link those together. But we are actively looking into that, obviously, with the drugs recovered yesterday during the takedown and running analysis to see if there's any connection to those cases.
Yes.
Beatrice Peterson, ABC News. Wesley Hillard, I believe, is an individual who is still indicted but has not been found. Is there any concerns for the public for this individual, or should the community be concerned at all?
We would definitely ask that if the community knows of his whereabouts to please give us a call at using the methods I've already mentioned, our command center, or send us a text tip. Right now we are seeking to locate him.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.